From the deepest fish ever discovered to wheels of light beneath the surface, these underwater phenomena defy explanation. First, the Filipino Atlantis. Pantabangan town stood for 300 years in central Luzon until it was flooded and fully submerged by Pantambangan Lake. That was in 1970 and was a known consequence of the construction of a local dam. However, recent intense heat waves have exposed the ruined village to the air for the longest time in half a century. National water levels are becoming a serious concern in the Philippines as dams across the nation lose 50 meters in water height. The Philippines is exceptionally vulnerable to climate change as drought and heat dry up the freshwater reserves and storms and sea level rise ravages the coasts. What else will the dropping reservoir levels reveal? Next is Challenger Deep. Challenger Deep is the deepest point on Earth, though it would take decades of exploration to fully uncover. The first ship, HMS Challenger, would measure the depth to be 8,184 meters deep, the deepest they had yet discovered. But the full 10,920-ish meter depth wouldn't be discovered until 1959 using explosive sounding. Since then, our understanding of the canyon has grown, with even manned expeditions to the depths being made since 1960. Despite both the first crude descents being very almost lethal, crude descents have continued to this day, but some things still remain a mystery. The main question is just how deep does the trench actually go? Previous testing methods only function to a certain depth, and while modern testing is better, there is a chance, as many have theorized, of a false floor to the trench that opens up to the depths even farther below, perhaps even reaching beneath the crust. Next is the vortex. This massive squid is on the attack, lashing out in every direction. Or is it? See, the sea is full of currents and vortices that churn up the water. Even on a placid day above the surface, the waters below can be very harsh. It seems that may be what happened here, as this Magnapinna squid got caught up inside a pretty brutal vortex and was essentially beaten up by the sea itself. Now, that may sound funny to you land dwellers, and well, it is. But to be honest, a harsh current is one of the most terrifying experiences possible beneath the waves, as you lose control and can really only make the best of a bad situation. Hopefully this Magnapinna manages to recover from this absolute thrashing, but these sudden vortices have destroyed submersibles and equipment in the past. Next are snailfish. 5 miles below the surface, deeper than it was thought anything could survive in, a fish was discovered. The snailfish, which is an incredibly strange looking creature, is the deepest known fish and one of the deepest known organisms to exist. At nearly 8.5 kilometers of depth, the Pseudolepharis snailfish was discovered. It has a soft, flexible skeleton and a layer of mucus instead of scales. It also has a proportionally much larger stomach. They eat the rare arthropod and morsel of detritus they come across, but may also prey on other deep sea fish, if there are any that can make it as deep as they. Interestingly, these fish still cannot reach the greatest depths of the Marianas Trench, and we don't know what creatures, if any, can live at that extreme of a depth. And finally, our learning lions. This is a personal story. When I went scuba diving in Southeast Asia through Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippine Sea, I had an incredibly strange encounter with a pair of lionfish. Lionfish are nocturnal predators and native to the Southwest Pacific. In one location where we dived, we found out that a pair of lionfish in this reef had learned to use divers to help them hunt. When night divers entered the water, the lionfish would stalk them from behind, waiting for the divers' flashlights to illuminate a sleeping fish for them to eat. I must say, it was both fascinating and sort of terrifying having a highly venomous fish use me like a truffle pig. Thankfully, the lionfish never got close enough to spike us, but we'd had no idea that fish could learn and adapt in this way.
In 2010, a group of 4 scuba divers documented a real-life living fossil, a coelacanth, a species that first appeared 360 million years ago. This thing should not exist. The animal was captured on camera beneath the waves of Sodwana Bay off of the east coast of South Africa by diver Laurent Balesta. The youngest known fossil of this fish species dated back to 66 million million years ago, which had led scientists to believe that it had long been extinct, but apparently that's not the case. The species was first documented in modern times back in 1938 when the fish became caught in a trawl net off the coast of South Africa. It was reported to have been seen again in 1987 when ethologist Hans Frink became the first one to capture the animal on film from his submersible just off the coast of Grand Comore, an island in the Comoros. These fish are generally found at depths of up to 300 meters, so it is extremely rare for divers to catch even the slightest glimpse of this ancient fish. Another extremely rare find is this adorable little walking fish, or handfish as they are known, that was seen by technical divers in March of 2024 while exploring a 19th century shipwreck located off of the Australian state of Tasmania. These fish are incredibly cool as they move by using their pectoral fins to essentially walk along the sea floor rather than swimming. Prior to this observation, this specific handfish, the pink handfish, had been observed on only 3 other occasions, but no one had been lucky enough to film the creature until 2021 when it was captured on film by an ROV, a remote operated vehicle, at a depth of 150 meters, approximately 492 feet, which is why a group of divers coming across one is so fascinating, as handfish generally don't frequent such shallow waters. While the species is red listed as endangered, scientists are hoping that the reason for their small numbers are simply due to the fact that they actually like to hang out much deeper than previously thought. But with little evidence to support that theory for now, all we can do is hope, because these things are super cute and I really don't want to see them going away anytime soon. Another fascinating find is this giant doomsday fish, more formally known as the oarfish. While diving off the coast of Tijuana, a group of divers came across a massive oarfish floating vertically in the water. The fish was much larger than any of the divers present, and one brave aquatic aficionado even reached out to touch its metallic and reflective scaly body. Would you be so brave? Oarfish are the longest known bony fish alive, and the reason for their nickname, the doomsday fish, is because legend has it if you see an oarfish, it's a warning sign that natural disasters such as tsunamis and earthquakes are coming soon. In fact, according to numerous reports, a total of 20 of these massive creatures washed up along the shores of Japan prior to the devastating earthquake experienced in 2011. And while scientists claim that there is no scientific correlation, I have to say the coincidence is pretty freaky. Alright, this next animal is not rare, nor should it be extinct for any reason other than overfishing, but this incident was just too freaky not to make the list. In June of 2016, a working scuba diver was lucky enough to walk away with his life after a pretty sizable swordfish charged at the man. The swordfish in question was 5 feet long, and while it fortunately did not pierce the diver's skin, it did impale his oxygen tank, making for a pretty daunting situation. Again, luckily, the diver was able to climb back onto the boat as the large fish thrashed around attempting to free itself from the tank. The diver did survive, but it was an incredibly close call. Whether or not the swordfish survived is unknown. And finally, in a true case of a diver discovering a legitimately extinct creature, or part of a creature that is, in May of this year, 2024, a man named Alex Lundberg made an incredible discovery while scuba diving near Venice Beach in Florida. At a descent of about 25 feet, Lundberg found a 4-foot-long mastodon tusk. Lundberg also stated that while Venice Beach is known for shark teeth, he never expected to find a mastodon tusk belonging to an animal that went extinct so many years ago.
From unidentifiable, ear-shattering sounds to alleged alien sightings and deep water bases, these anomalies were baffling. Up first is the shrimp layer. Snapping shrimp, better known by a name that we can't say here, use incredibly powerful snapping claws to launch jets of hypervelocity water that they use to hunt, defend, and communicate. These shrimp can live in such large colonies, however, that they create something called a shrimp layer. It was first discovered by Allied submarines in World War II, who discovered they could actually use it as a shield against detection. The shrimp are so loud that a running sub sitting just above the shrimp layer will be completely sonically masked from other sonar arrays.
Oh, you hear that snap? That's a snapping shrimp.
During the war, it wasn't really known what was causing this phenomenon until subs resurfaced with shrimp still on them. The shrimp also caused some non-negligible damage to the submarines when they passed through the layer. Next is the Baltic Sea anomaly. These sonar readings were made by a treasure hunting dive team in the Baltic Sea in 2011. Since then, they have sparked much controversy. Though the stone of these formations has been found to be able to be made by natural processes, it's still not clear why these strange, unnatural shapes were formed. Many have hypothesized these three structures to be the remains of ships, perhaps long-sunk UFOs that have since calcified and deteriorated until only the barest impression of the ships is left remaining. But others say this is little more than a cheap and poorly calibrated sonar failing in its task. What do you think? Next are brinicles. These slow-moving, icy fingers of destruction are some of the strangest aspects of Arctic and Antarctic life. As the seawater in glaciers freeze, it forces out the salt and some impurities from the ice. This super-cooled, super salty water then filters down through the iceberg until it eventually reaches the water beneath. This super-cooled brine continues to descend through the water, but because it's colder than freezing, it freezes the water around it, leading to a growing hollow icicle that descends towards the seafloor. This freezing only increases the amount of brine, which eventually spills out across the seafloor, slowly freezing and suffocating anything living on the bottom. Next is the bloop. The bloop has been one of the most famous and confusing anomalies in history. It sounds like a big rock being dropped into a pond, but the thing that made it so unique was the incredible volume of the sound. It was detected on sonar listening devices over 4,800 kilometers apart, making it significantly louder than the blue whale, the loudest animal on the planet. Many thought that it was an animal, but scientists disagreed. It would be eventually determined to be a result of cryoseism, or iceberg calving and ice quakes. It's also important to note that while the bloop sounds like a quick 11-second long soundbite of a bloop, this clip has been sped up by 16 times. In truth, the actual sound was more of a very deep rumble that slowly rose in pitch, which matches pretty close to other previous iceberg calvings. Next is a Pacific deep water base. Marcelo Iguazusta, an Argentinian researcher, would allegedly discover a massive formation in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Mexico. It was described as a large double pyramid several miles in length and diameter, and was hypothesized to be a descended alien craft now used as a deep-sea Pacific base. This would be picked up by UFO blogger Scott Waring and spread farther online, and has now gained international attention. The Pacific is vast and deep, but the waters around the base are not exactly the most untraveled, and so apparently many people have claimed to see similar sightings in the waters surrounding the Pacific coast of Mexico. Some have even been claiming, now that the base has been found, that it's actually been moving, its location shifting day by day as it seems to be making for less well-traveled waters. Next is the Antarctic anomaly. Much of the surface mass of Antarctica is just floating sea ice with ocean underneath it. This patch of ice in the image is one such section, positioned over the cold oceanic depths. For ice surveillance and mass tracking, several satellites and aircraft overfly the Antarctic fairly frequently to take images. One pass, the ice was as it had been, but a few days later, another pass showed a strange pyramid jutting up through the ice. Ice that is miles thick. It seemed that something had punched upwards from the ocean through the ice. Perhaps it's some sort of antenna, though no recognizable signals can be detected. Do you have any idea what this is? Ice or antenna? What's your bet? And finally, the whistle. Some say this sounds like a whistle, but to me it sounds more like some half-remembered lullaby, for some reason bubbling up from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. This audio was sped up by 16 times, so it isn't exactly indicative of the original sound. This sound is, in fact, of something bubbling up in the depths, though. A deep-sea volcano expelling gases and pumping magma is what made this haunting sound. However, only one microphone actually picked up the recording, meaning that while its location is presumed to be in the South Central Pacific, we actually have no idea where it is. Those were underwater ocean anomalies that baffled scientists. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.
Want to see more videos like this one? Check out this video next. It's about sightings of the thought-to-be-extinct creature, the Titanoboa. Now, this creature was thought to be extinct for the last couple of million years, but there has been some concerning footage that might show that it's still alive and well. Click the video now to find out more. See you in the next video.